For some it is good, for others very bad. Indeed. Well, I see that's not in our line. We old-fashioned people think that without principles, taken as you say on faith, one can't take a step or even breathe. Vous avez changé tout cela. May God grant you health and a general's rank, and we shall be content to look on and admire your, what was the name? Nihilists, said Arcady, pronouncing very distinctly. Yes, there used to be Hegelists and now there are nihilists. We shall see how you will manage to exist in the empty airless void, and now ring, please, Brother Nikolai, it's time for me to drink my cocoa. Nikolai Petrovich rang the bell and called. Dunyasha. But instead of Dunyasha, Fenishka herself appeared on the terrace. She was a young woman of about 23 with a soft white skin, dark hair and eyes, childishly pouting lips and plump little hands. She wore a neat cotton dress, a new blue kerchief lay lightly over her soft shoulders. She carried a large cup of cocoa and setting it down in front of Pavel Petrovich, she was overcome with confusion, the hot blood rushed in a wave of crimson under the delicate skin of her charming face. She lowered her eyes and stood by the table slightly pressing it with her fingertips. She looked as if she were ashamed of having come in and somehow felt at the same time that she had a right to come. Pavel Petrovich frowned and Nikolai Petrovich looked embarrassed. Good morning, Fenishka, he muttered through his teeth. Good morning, she replied in a voice not loud but resonant, and casting a quick glance at Arcady, who gave her a friendly smile, she went quietly away. She had a slightly swaying walk, but that also suited her. For some minutes silence reigned on the terrace. Pavel Petrovich was sipping his cocoa, suddenly he raised his head. Here is Mr. Nihilist coming over to visit us, he murmured. Bazarov was in fact approaching through the garden, striding over the flower beds. His linen coat and trousers were bespattered with mud, a clinging marsh plant was twined round the crown of his old round hat, in his right hand he held a small bag in which something alive was wriggling. He walked quickly up to the terrace and said with a nod. Good morning, gentlemen, sorry I was late for tea, I'll join you in a moment. I just have to put these prisoners away. What have you there, leeches? Asked Pavel Petrovitch. No, frogs. Do you eat them or keep them for breeding? For experiments, answered Bazarov indifferently, and went into the house. So he's going to cut them up, observed Pavel Petrovitch. He has no faith in principles, but he has faith in frogs. Arkady looked sadly at his uncle. Nikolai Petrovitch almost imperceptibly shrugged his shoulders. Pavel Petrovitch himself felt that his epigram had misfired, and he began to talk about farming and the new bailiff who had come to him the evening before to complain that a laborer, Foma, was debauched, and had become unmanageable. He's such an Aesop, he remarked. He announces to everyone that he's a worthless fellow. He wants to have a good time and then he'll suddenly leave his job on account of some stupidity. Chapter 6. Bazarov came back, sat down at the table and began to drink tea hurriedly. Both brothers watched him in silence, and Arkady glanced furtively from one to the other. Did you walk far this morning? Asked Nikolai Petrovitch at last. To where you've got a little marsh near an aspen wood. I scared away 5 snipe. You might shoot them, Arkady. So you're not a sportsman yourself? No. Isn't physics your special subject? Asked Pavel Petrovitch in his turn. Yes, physics, and natural science in general. They say the Teutons have lately had great success in that line. Yes, the Germans are our teachers in it, Bazarov answered carelessly. Pavel Petrovitch had used the word Teutons instead of Germans with an ironical intention, which, however, no one noticed. Have you such a high opinion of Germans? Asked Pavel Petrovitch with exaggerated politeness. He was beginning to feel a concealed irritation. Bazarov's complete nonchalance disgusted his aristocratic nature. This surgeon's son was not only self-assured, he even answered abruptly and unwillingly, and there was something coarse and almost insolent in the tone of his voice. Their scientists are a clever lot. Ah, yes. I expect you hold a less flattering opinion about Russian scientists. Very likely. That is very praiseworthy self-denial, said Pavel Petrovitch, drawing himself up and throwing back his head. But how is it that Arkady Nikolaich was telling us just now that you acknowledge no authorities? Don't you even believe in them? Why should I acknowledge them, or believe in them? If they tell me the truth, I agree, that's all.